Hey designers, Brandon with 383 Design here. How many times have you asked yourself, is my portfolio good enough to apply? What else does it need? What shouldn't it have? So we're gonna answer those questions for you today with a couple tips and tricks I like to see in portfolios, especially things that I don't want to see in your portfolio, and most importantly, when it's done and when you can start applying for jobs. So actually, before we get into talking about the things that your portfolio needs and the things that it doesn't, we want to cover the two different paths a portfolio could take. Those two paths are basically a freelance portfolio or a portfolio for someone trying to apply at a big corporation or an in-house job. When you're freelancing, you're selling yourself just as much as you're selling your actual designs and deliverables. Whereas if you're applying for something that's kind of in-house and corporate side, you're actually selling your process a lot and your ability to work as a team member. So there's a little bit less individuality involved. My experience is definitely going to be a lot more on the in-house side. That's where I've spent my career, and that is, where the people that I've helped mentor are going to be going. So that's where a lot of my experience is and what this video is going to cover. If you do need more information on freelance specific type of tips and tricks, definitely check out The Futur and Flux. They're going to have a lot more content centered around not even just your portfolio and being a freelance designer, but actually the business of being a freelancer, all of which is incredibly helpful for you freelancers trying to grow. So with that out of the way, let's get into the bulk of this video and actually start covering the things that your portfolio needs, again, for someone that's trying to apply for in-house and corporate jobs. This might be a little controversial to say, but as someone that's looked through lots of portfolios trying to hire both junior, mid-level, and even intern designers, there's really only two things your portfolio needs to have. The first one is the most obvious, and like everyone has these, but there's definitely some tips around making them better and more accessible that I want to give you, and that's case studies. Case studies are your process and how you kind of broadcast yourself out there to hiring managers and to corporations about what you can do and how you perform as part of a team. And there's lots of stuff in case studies that you don't need, and a lot of stuff that you do need that a lot of people don't include. It's actually interesting to me, I think, when you consider where a lot of designers are coming from today, especially designers that don't have a traditional background in design and have gone down alternate paths like a boot camp or self-taught learning via YouTube and places like Skillshare or Udemy. They think of their portfolio as an expression of themselves as art, when really you should be thinking of your portfolio as a digital product. You've been training and learning on how to improve digital products for users, and so there should be no reason why you don't do that with your case studies. The users are going to be the hiring managers and the recruiters and the HR people that are looking at your portfolio, trying to figure out if you can do the job that they're trying to hire for. So with that in mind, there's a couple of quick tips and tricks to help improve the effectiveness of your portfolio case studies. The first of that is include an overview of the case study. We tend to see a lot of case studies that are super long. They have a lot of process, a lot of images and sketches and designs and iterations and even live Figma prototypes. If a user has to look through that entire case study to kind of discern for themselves the different pieces of your process, it becomes a huge cognitive load for them. So if you include an overview that lays out things like how long you had, the team that you were on, and the role that you played on that team. It can include things like the overarching challenge and the business goals, and even kind of the outcome of the case study. All of those things presented up front in a very concise way will help them understand the case study before having to dive into the massive details to get that information out of it. It's a lot easier for that person when they're going through 10 portfolios to not have to read paragraph after paragraph after paragraph to figure out what your process is. And that's really the ultimate goal, is that your case study shows them what your process is and shows them that you can achieve the goals that they're looking for someone in this role to achieve. Now that does not mean make your case study short, concise, 2 paragraphs and move on. Think of it kind of like easing them into it. They can quickly see on that case study overview that hey, this person solved this problem or a similar problem that I'm trying to solve. let's see how they did it, and maybe I can learn how their mind works. So they start going through the bulk of the case study, they see your process, they see those sketches, they see the iterations and the prototypes, and that's really how you end up selling it after it's all said and done. Now, the other thing I do recommend is that at the bottom of your case study, or kind of toward the end, not just to include, the outcome of the project itself, but also talk about what you learned from it. I think that's a win for a lot of hiring managers and recruiters to see that, this person is actually coachable. Like, they did this project. Not every project goes the exact way we want it to. And then the next thing you know, you've talked about what you've learned and how you can improve that process in the future. Everyone would love to see that. Like, this person's coachable. This person can learn from mistakes, and this person can improve as they go on. So I definitely recommend including kind of a personal key learnings at the bottom of every case study. Even if it's something minor, there's always ways that we can improve what we've done in the past. And the only other thing I think you need to include in your portfolio, and again, very controversial, I think, just put your name and the job that you're trying to apply for. We want to kind of show an air of confidence in ourselves and show that we can do the job. Not, hopefully I'll be a senior designer, or hopefully I can be a UI UX designer. Put your name and put, I am a UI UX designer. Give that hiring manager or recruiter the confidence that you're doing this job and that you know what you're doing and that you can be a valuable part of this team member in that role. So yeah, that's really it. Include your case studies in your name. I really don't think you need much more, especially when you're starting out. And honestly, everything else just kind of slows you down from applying for jobs. There's always nice little personal touches and things that you can include on your portfolio. Never hurts to have a picture of yourself or kind of a headshot made to just show, it is really a person behind the website. But generally speaking, that's all you need. And now that I've said that, this next section is about specific things that you can skip from your portfolio. It might sound a little redundant at this point, but these are small things that I know I personally tend to get caught up in when I'm kind of building my own projects. And that's just because I'm like, oh, this is cool. I've always liked this on other websites. I want to try this. But again, if you're thinking of your portfolio as more of a digital product and the user being the recruiters, HR, or hiring managers that are looking at things, these things really slow down their process and really keep them from actually achieving the goal that they want to achieve, which is figuring out, again, if you are the right candidate for the job. So the first of those things that I definitely want you to leave out, any kind of unique interactions. I've seen websites that have the mouse cursor changed to a giant circle instead of just the mouse cursor. I've seen, loading animations that take a long time once you click on something. Pages fly around and it looks great. It looks very cool. And when another designer sees it, they tend to be like, oh, that's really neat. But again, if I'm looking through 10 or 15 portfolios, if anything is slowing me down, I'm gonna spend less time looking at your site as opposed to someone else's that just has what I need right there at the beginning. Some other small things I've seen, different scroll patterns. Like, I've run into portfolios that you'll be scrolling vertically like you would normally on the web, and then you hit a specific section of the website and it starts scrolling horizontally to show all of their projects. It's just a very strange interaction to run into, not one that you typically see. And then you have to go like, oh, well, how far does this go? How many projects are there? Which is the right one to look at? Like, it's not a curated list. It's just a very long list of projects to go through. And then you eventually hit the end of that list and all of a sudden it starts vertical scrolling again. And now you're past the projects entirely. Those small things really add up to a lot of problems later on. So it's best to just keep it as minimal as possible, easily kind of see which projects are what and what the skill set involved with the projects is, whatever it takes to make it easier to understand what you've done. And my last probably unpopular opinion on this one is gonna be, don't put your resume on your portfolio. Well, that doesn't make any sense, right? When you're actually looking to hire a designer, your recruiters are gonna be sending you two things: portfolio link and their resume. I have never met a hiring manager that just completely disregards the resume. That's typically the first thing they look at. Then click on your portfolio to kind of learn more about your process. So if they're already past that point of understanding on your resume, want to see your portfolio, what's the point of regurgitating that information back to them? Makes no sense. Don't include it. It's wasted space. Takes up space that can be used better to show off your process. And the last thing I want to talk about is kind of just where to start with your portfolio. You can use templates off of Squarespace or a Wix or anything like that to kind of jumpstart your portfolio and just get it out there. I don't care as a hiring manager if it looks the same as another portfolio I saw 2 weeks ago. Doesn't really matter to me unless I'm working on a very aesthetically innovative solution or something like that. But if I'm just building digital products for consumers or other businesses, it doesn't matter. You can find tons of pre-made templates on those websites, tons of templates, outside of those websites that you can use there that you only have to fill in the information. But I do recommend you at least thinking through those templates and making sure they're consistent across the board. As bad as, animations and different interaction changes can be, it can be just as bad to have a template where each case study looks different. Keep it consistent, keep it easy to understand. Again, improve the life of the users, which in this case are your HR, your hiring managers, and your recruiters. So when I originally started out in recording this video, I had called this, when do you know that your portfolio is done? The whole kind of goal of the video was to kind of explain that even though as designers, we can always sit there and improve this or that on our portfolios, nothing is ever considered done for us. We can just find a stopping point and start applying. As I was recording this video, I realized that it's more about just kind of those tips to get started. And then I wanted to end the video by just telling you, just apply. Once you get 2 case studies up, start applying. That is all you need to start working on it. Once you start getting that feedback loop from recruiters and hiring managers about what you have and what you don't have experience-wise, you can quickly improve your portfolio and make it an iterative design process just like you would at a job. All that to say, don't spend months over designing this. Keep it simple, keep it basic, get it up quickly, and then start applying for jobs. Your portfolio is never going to be done. Even once you get a job, you're going to be keeping your projects updated. You're going to be adding new projects. There is never going to be a point in time that you just stop updating your portfolio. Well, that's it. Those are a lot of the tips and things that I suggest for portfolios, and even more importantly, when you're done with it. If there's anything you think I missed or you liked a tip in particular, go ahead and leave a comment down below and let me know which one it is.